Welcome to this custom deep dive. Today we are opening up Daniel Kahneman's monumental book, Thinking Fast and Slow.
It is such an incredible book.
It really is. And the mission for you listening today is simple. We are going to shortcut your path to being truly well-informed about behavioral economics.
Because there is a lot to unpack there.
Oh, absolutely. We will unpack the two incredibly powerful, totally distinct systems that are, currently operating inside your head.
Right.
And then we're going to explore the hidden cognitive traps that are actively siphoning money out of your wallet.
Yeah, whether you are pricing a product, selling a service, or managing an investment portfolio.
Exactly. And to make sure you walk away armed, we are weaving an actionable anti-bias toolkit throughout our conversation today.
It's going to have decision rules and rituals to protect your wealth.
So to set the stage for why this matters to you, consider the most elite financial professionals in the world.
Right, like the CFOs of massive corporations.
Yeah, these are people whose entire existence revolves around analyzing data, mitigating risk, and predicting market movements.
You'd naturally assume they operate with, a level of clinical robotic foresight.
You would hope so, right? But when researchers actually surveyed a massive group of large corporate CFOs, asking them to predict the stock market over a specific period, the results were just staggering.
What did they find?
Their accuracy was slightly less than zero.
Wait, less than zero?
Literally less than zero.
Yeah.
Statistically speaking, these titans of industry would have generated better returns by, flipping a quarter in their boardrooms.
That is wild.
Yeah, they possess zero predictive power, yet they operated with absolute confidence.
Which tells us that the catastrophic financial errors they made weren't the result of, a lack of intelligence or poor education.
Right, it's something else entirely.
Exactly. Those errors are a feature of human biology.
So to understand why we are all inherently bad at handling money, we first have to meet the two foundational characters battling for control of your mind.
Right. Kahneman refers to them as System 1 and System 2.
Yeah, so System 1 is your brain's fast, automatic, effortless mode.
Think of it as an incredibly eager, highly impulsive autopilot.
Right. It processes the world in milliseconds.
Like it instantly recognizes an angry face in a crowded room, or it jumps at a loud noise.
Or it automatically knows that 2 + 2 is 4.
Exactly. Now, System 2, on the other hand, is like the sleepy captain in the cockpit.
The sleepy captain,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's the slow, deliberate, logical part of your mind. It handles complex computations, fills out tax forms, that sort of thing.
It follows the intricate rules.
But System 2 has one defining fatal flaw. It is inherently biologically lazy.
Really? Why is it so lazy?
Well, it's lazy because it requires real physical currency to operate.
Oh, like actual energy.
Exactly. Waking up the captain demands glucose, attention, and energy.
Kahneman highlights this physical toll through a mental math exercise called the add 3 task. Right?
Yes, the add 3 task. So you hold a string of random numbers in your head, and to a steady metronome beat, you add 3 to each number and recite the new string.
That sounds exhausting just thinking about it.
It is. If you attempt this, your heart rate noticeably spikes.
Wow.
Your pupils dilate so significantly that an observer can actually tell the exact second your brain becomes overwhelmed and gives up on the math.
That is fascinating. So because that intense cognitive effort is physically exhausting, System 2 just prefers to stay in a comfortable, low-effort standby mode.
Yeah, it usually just rubber stamps whatever the eager autopilot System 1 suggests.
Which brings us to the classic bat and ball puzzle.
Oh, this is a great one.
So a bat and a ball together cost $1.10.
Okay.
The bat costs exactly $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost?
When you hear that, your System 1 immediately screams that the ball costs 10 cents.
Right, because it just feels incredibly intuitive.
Yeah, the numbers seem to align perfectly. $1.10.
But if the ball is 10 cents and the bat is $1 more.
Making the bat $1.10 on its own.
Exactly. The total cost would then be $1.20.
Right. So the actual mathematical answer is that the ball costs 5 cents.
But the fascinating part isn't the math itself, is it?
No, not at all. It's that over 50% of students at elite universities like Harvard and MIT confidently gave the wrong 10-cent answer.
Over 50%.
Yeah.
Their sleepy captain simply couldn't be bothered to spend the energy to double-check the autopilot's math.
Exactly.
But honestly, isn't it actually a good thing that System 1 handles most things?
How do you mean?
Well, if we used our rigorous system 2 for everything, wouldn't our brains literally short-circuit in the grocery aisle?
Oh, absolutely. We couldn't survive without that rapid processing.
Right. We need system 1 to navigate the world efficiently.
We do. But the danger, especially to your finances, arises from a cognitive mechanism called substitution.
Substitution, how does that work?
Well, when you are faced with a very difficult, complex question like, should I invest my life savings in Ford stock?
Okay.
Your brain experiences friction. And to relieve that friction, System 1 seamlessly and automatically substitutes an easier question.
Like what?
Like, do I like the design of Ford cars?
Oh, wow. So you answer the easy question, you feel a surge of confidence, and you never even realize you bypassed the hard financial analysis.
Exactly. That invisible substitution is the root cause of the pricing and sales traps we fall into every day.
Let's get into those traps. Because System 1 is constantly scanning for easy clues to substitute for hard thinking, it gets manipulated by random data.
It really does. And the most glaring example of this is bias number 1, which is anchoring.
Anchoring. This happens when your brain is exposed to a specific number right before you have to estimate an unknown quantity, right?
Yes. Instead of calculating from scratch, your mind just tethers its estimate to that initial, entirely irrelevant number.
There is a truly unsettling experiment illustrating this with German judges.
Oh, the loaded dice experiment.
Yeah. Researchers had experienced German judges review a shoplifting case.
Okay.
Before handing down the prison sentence, the judges were asked to roll a pair of dice.
And the judges didn't know the dice were loaded.
Right. They were loaded to only ever land on a 3 or a 9.
So what happened?
The judges who rolled a 9 sentenced the shoplifter to an average of 8 months in prison.
Wow.
But the judges who rolled a 3 handed down an average sentence of just 5 months.
A completely random dice roll altered a human being's freedom?
It's like gravity. Even if you know anchoring is there, it still pulls on you. But if an anchor is completely random, like a dice roll, why on earth does System 2 accept it?
It's because of what Kahneman calls associative coherence.
Associative coherence.
Yeah. The moment those judges saw the number 9, their brains didn't just register it. They involuntarily started building a cohesive world where a high number made sense.
So System 1 retrieves memories and arguments that align with the anchor.
Exactly. And your lazy System 2 just looks at that neatly constructed story and accepts it, unaware that it was fabricated to fit a random piece of plastic on a table.
That is terrifying. And retailers weaponize this associative coherence against us all the time in pricing and sales.
Oh, constantly.
You walk into a supermarket and see a display of soup cans with a sign blaring, limit of 12 per person.
Right, and that number 12 is completely arbitrary. There is no soup shortage.
But it acts as an anchor. Shoppers suddenly buy 6 or 7 cans.
Whereas if the sign simply said no limit, they would have probably bought 1 or 2.
The anchor creates a false sense of scarcity and value.
Which actually brings us to bias number 2, the endowment effect.
Ah, yes. The endowment effect dictates that we intrinsically overvalue things simply because we already own them.
Exactly. There's a famous behavioral economics experiment with coffee mugs.
Right. Half the people in a room were handed a standard university coffee mug and asked the minimum price they would accept to sell it.
And the other half, who received nothing, were asked the maximum they would pay to buy that same mug.
The sellers demanded roughly twice as much money as the buyers were willing to pay.
Even though the mug possessed no inherent objective magic?
But once an item enters your endowment, giving it up feels like a painful loss.
Yeah, evolutionarily, treating a loss as a severe threat was vital for survival.
Because a lost resource meant you might starve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That ancient survival wiring makes us terrible at objectively pricing our own assets today.
And we also misprice risk based on what our memory serves up, which is bias number 3, the availability heuristic.
Right. We judge the probability of an event based purely on how easily we can recall vivid examples of it.
You see this drastically alter sales patterns in the insurance industry, like with earthquakes in California.
Oh, yeah. After a major earthquake, sales of earthquake insurance skyrocket.
Because the memory is fresh and terrifying.
But as years go by and the vivid images of collapsed freeways fade from the news cycle, homeowners let those policies lapse.
Even though the actual geological, statistical probability of an earthquake occurring hasn't changed at all.
Exactly. Sales spike based on vivid media coverage, not actual risk.
So in the realm of pricing and sales, we are easily manipulated by our external environment.
Yeah, random numbers, physical ownership, news cycles.
But when we look at investing, the traps become much more insidious.
Because investing traps happen when we look inward and trust our own flawed stories.
Which brings us to bias number 4, overconfidence, or the illusion of skill.
The entire active stock market is built on this illusion of skill.
When one person sells a stock and another buys it, what do they think they know that the other doesn't?
Right. They both have access to the same public financials and market trends. Yet the seller believes the stock will drop and the buyer believes it will rise.
They both suffer from what Kahneman calls WYSII.
Yes. What you see is all there is.
It's System 1's profound intolerance for missing information.
Your brain gathers the limited data right in front of it, ignores what it doesn't know, and weaves together a highly confident narrative.
Just like those CFOs predicting the market. They weren't malicious. They just stitched together a story and believed it was objective truth.
And when that narrative engine looks backward, we fall into bias number 5, outcome bias and hindsight.
Oh, this one is everywhere in business.
Yeah.
We are practically incapable of evaluating a decision based on the process. We only judge the final outcome.
Right. If a CEO makes a massive, risky gamble and the market aligns, we call them a visionary.
But if the economy unexpectedly dips and they go bankrupt, we look at those exact same aggressive behaviors and declare they were always rigid and stubborn.
Because the outcome is known, our brain rewires our memory to believe the outcome was always inevitable.
And this hindsight makes us dangerous when we try to look forward, leading to bias number 6, the planning fallacy.
Yes, the planning fallacy. It is extreme optimism masquerading as strategy.
Highly optimistic CEOs with massive personal stakes taking on disastrous mergers because they suffer from competition neglect.
Right, they map out their own brilliant strategy, but completely forget that their competitors are simultaneously executing their own plans.
But wait, don't we want our leaders to be insanely optimistic? Isn't that how startups survive?
Well, optimism is absolutely vital for executing a plan. A founder needs it to survive endless rejection.
Right.
But it is a massive liability when you are forecasting outcomes or deciding whether to risk capital.
You want your sales team to be endlessly optimistic, but your financial planner to be ruthlessly realistic.
Precisely. If you don't inject that realism, you find yourself trapped by bias number 7, the sunk cost fallacy.
Sunk costs. Imagine a company throws $50 million into a failing software project.
Okay.
It's glitchy. The market doesn't want it. To fix it, they need to spend an additional $60 million.
Right.
Meanwhile, a new highly lucrative project is proposed that will cost exactly $60 million. Logically, the old project is dead. What do most companies do?
They authorize the $60 million for the failing software.
Just to avoid closing the mental account as a failure.
Exactly. To avoid the sharp, agonizing psychological pain of realizing a loss, they throw good money after bad.
Which means the sunk cost fallacy is fundamentally driven by our asymmetrical relationship with winning and losing.
And this leads us directly to bias number 8, Kahneman's most famous contribution, loss aversion.
Loss aversion. The idea that the psychological impact of a loss is roughly twice as severe as the joy of a gain.
The emotional scales are heavily rigged. If I offer you a 50-50 coin toss, heads you win, tails you lose $100, what does the payout for heads need to be for you to accept?
For most people, it has to be at least $200, right?
Exactly. Our internal alarms scream at us to protect what we already have.
This biological imperative even alters professional sports. Economists studied PGA Tour golfers and found they put much more successfully for par than for a birdie.
Because putting for par means avoiding a loss. A bogey, while putting for a birdie, is achieving a gain.
The sheer terror of dropping a shot focuses their minds far more intensely.
And that asymmetrical fear completely distorts how everyday people manage investments, creating bias number 9, the disposition effect.
Let's say you hold 2 stocks. Tiffany Motors is losing value and Blueberry Tiles has doubled in value. Which do you sell?
The overwhelming tendency is to sell the winner, Blueberry Tiles, and hold the loser, Tiffany Motors.
I totally relate to this. It feels like returning a pair of shoes that don't fit.
How so?
If I sell the loser, I have to admit I made a bad purchase. But as long as the shoes sit in my closet, I haven't technically failed yet.
Exactly. Selling the winner gives you a hit of dopamine, while holding the loser delays the cortisol spike of failure.
Even though tax laws and financial logic dictate you should do the exact opposite.
Right. And we fall victim to this because of bias number 10, narrow framing.
Narrow framing is treating every financial decision as an isolated life or death event, right?
Yes. Kahneman shares the story, Sam, who turns down a profitable coin toss because he hates losing a single bet.
He frames the decision incredibly narrowly.
But if you offer Sam the same bet multiple times as a portfolio, the risk drops and he eagerly accepts.
So we diagnosed the 10 diseases of System 1. Now we need the medicine. Let's get into the anti-bias toolkit.
Perfect.
Deliverable 1 is a decision rule. Think the opposite. How do we apply this?
To defeat anchoring in a negotiation, deliberately search your memory for arguments against the anchor.
Activate System 2 by focusing on the minimal offer the opponent would accept.
Exactly. You refuse to play in the sandbox their anchor just built.
Deliverable 2 is a checklist item, the pre-mortem.
This defeats the planning fallacy. Before finalizing an investment, gather the team and imagine it's a year in the future and the plan is a complete disaster.
Then you force everyone to write down the specific history of why it failed.
Looking backward from guaranteed failure forces your lazy System 2 to uncover the blind spots System 1 was hiding.
I love that. Finally, Deliverable 3 is a weekly or quarterly ritual, the risk policy.
This is to defeat loss aversion and narrow framing. Stop looking at daily stock fluctuations.
It's like stepping on the bathroom scale every hour. It drives you crazy with water weight.
Right. If you weigh yourself once a month, you see the real trend. Check your portfolio once a quarter, adopting a broad frame.
And repeat the mantra, you win a few, you lose a few, as an emotional shield against loss aversion.
Exactly.
So understanding System 1 and 2 isn't about becoming a robot. It's about knowing when to slow down and let System 2 take the wheel.
Protecting your wealth from your own instincts.
To wrap up, I want to leave you with Kahneman's concept of miswanting and the focusing illusion.
This is such a profound idea.
We often think a new luxury car or a massive spike in wealth will bring us permanent happiness.
But because our brains adapt, we eventually stop paying attention to the car. It just becomes the metal box we sit in during traffic.
Meanwhile, social experiences like joining a club or having dinners with friends retain their value because they demand our active attention.
We consistently exaggerate the long-term emotional payoff of the physical purchase.
So ask yourself, are you making major financial decisions based on a System 1 illusion of what will actually make you happy? Are you sacrificing compounding social experiences just to chase a car you'll eventually stop noticing?
The elite professionals definitely don't have a crystal ball.
No, they don't. But by understanding the beautiful, flawed mechanics of your own mind, you don't need one. You just need a slightly more awake captain in the cockpit.